Good morning and welcome to worship for Epworth United Methodist Church in Berkeley. I'm Becky Wheat, lay leader. This morning we are grateful to welcome guest preacher Dr. Yohana Junker. Dr. Junker is an educator, agitator, visual artist, and faculty associate in theology, spirituality, and the arts at the Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley. She received her Ph.D. in Art and Religion from the Graduate Theological Union. In her artistic and educational practices, she explores the human capacity to imagine and retrieve generative ways of being, even in the face of impossibility. An ongoing learner of ancient healing modalities, her research probed the intersections of ecology, decolonial, and Amerindian ways of knowing and art making. When she is not writing, making art, researching, teaching, learning, or communicating, you can find her conspiring about the poetics of resistance in Richmond, California. Yohana has been part of our congregation for several years and is the aunt to one of our newest members, Elsa. Thank you for bringing the word this morning, Dr. Yohana Junker. Next Sunday, Advent begins. Each Sunday evening in Advent, we will gather at 5:30 for a socially distanced candlelight witness around the church and up and down Hopkins. Please bring your own candle if you can and show up to witness to the light that breaks through the darkness. And now let us worship as the scriptures are read and God's word proclaimed. Let us hear with joy what God has to say today.
When the stars Good morning, Epworth. I'm Judy Cayot, a member of the community, and I invite you to join me in this morning's invocation and call to prayer. Come, let us seek together God's saving grace. Welcome the stranger. Redistribute resources. Tend needs and practice mutual care. Abolish all that imprisons. This is the way of Jesus. Let the old ways be left behind. Love is the way. Let us pray. Spirit of God, holy is your wisdom. You reveal all that has narrowed our imagination, confined our worldviews, and distorted our sense of what is possible. Come, help us create anew. Help us listen to the divine within and among us. Nurture our creativity in the simple and serious work of love. Amen.
My name is Ida Naranjo, and I'm reading from Philippians 4, verses 1 through 9. Therefore, my brethren, whom I love and long for, my joy and crown, stand firm thus in the Lord, my beloved. I treat Euodia and I treat Syntyche to agree in the Lord. I ask you also, true yokefellow, help these women, for they have labored side by side with me in the gospel together with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers, whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say, rejoice. Let all men know your forbearance. The Lord is at hand. Have no anxiety about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Think what you have learned and received and heard and seen in me. Do, and the God of peace will be with you. Amen.
Gloria Anzaduva's Speaking in Tongues, a letter to Third World women writers. Many have a way with words. They label themselves seers, but they will not see. Many have the gift of tongue, but nothing to say. Do not listen to them. They wither in ivory towers and in college classrooms. Throw away abstraction and academic learning, the rules, the map, and the compass. Feel your way without blinders. To touch more people, the personal realities and the social must be evoked, not through rhetoric, but through blood and pus and sweat. Write with your eyes, like painters, with your ears, like musicians, with your feet, like dancers. You are the truth-sayer, with quill and torch. Write with your tongues of fire. Don't let the pen banish you from yourself. Don't let the ink coagulate in your pens. Find the divine within you, the voice that lies buried under you. Dig it up. Do not fake it. Try to sell it for a hand clap or your name in print. Love, Gloria.
Good morning. Recently, a very wise Epworth friend, Janene Coates, said something that resonated with me. She said, sometimes it's hard to stay positive. It takes a lot of effort. I agree with that statement. I believe she's right about that. That's one of the reasons that Orion, Lacey, and I invited you all to make joy jars this month, to spend a little bit of time reflecting on and looking for things that bring you joy and make you feel happy. Today, our friend Elsa is going to read us a special story. It is illustrated by Tim Hopegood, And it has the lyrics for the story that are very famous, and you'll recognize them when you hear them. The lyrics are written by Bob Thiele and George David Weiss, and the story is called It's a Wonderful World.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white. The bright, blessed day, the dark, scared night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Good morning, Epworth United Methodist Church. It is both a pleasure and a very deep honor to be here with you this morning for worship, sharing a word with you. I come to you not as a preacher, but as a lifelong learner, educator, agitator and visual artist who has been attempting to understand the character of our relationship to God and one another via the poetic. I have lived most of my adult life in Brazil, and so I'm a Brazilian immigrant for these last 10 years here in the US. So my epistemological curiosity is drenched in this identity from what I like to call the edges of the world. I'm going to share my screen with you with the artwork by Fabiana Rodriguez, a Bay Area artist who created a work entitled From the Edge of the World. The reason why I'm bringing the visual arts to our sermon and our conversation this morning is because I understand art, creativity, and imagination as tools that help us enhance, potentialize, and incendiar our communities. This word incendiar comes from Portuguese, and it means lighting a fire, a divine spark, a holy electricity. And I am curious about how we can create communities of belonging that can collectively bring this spark, that can collectively bring to the world a more affectionate and just way of being and relating to one another. I was raised by a people and the community that held on to the Congo-Bantu notion of Kindezi, which means that the fundamental work of communities of belonging and of regard is to light our fire, our light within, our sun within, really. That is, I am here to light your inner sun as you're here to light my inner sun. So there is no me if there is no you, because we're mutually and circularly connected. We're part of a very reciprocal whole. Such a way of being in the world carries the mark of people who are in deep relationship, not only to one another, to their communities, but also to the land. They know that reciprocity and mutuality and community are elements that sustain life for all of us. We learn from each other and from the land as well. So there is no real meaningful work that can happen outside the boundaries of the collective. Sunflowers, they know this too, because when the sun is not shining, they turn to each other to receive light from one another. The word sunflower in Portuguese, girassol, literally means that they turning with the sun, turning with the light. I twist and turn, therefore, toward your light, and you twist and turn toward my light. We orient ourselves toward this divinely given light, Kindezi. So I would like to invite you today to think about how many voices, companions, ancestors, sojourners, artists, musicians, spiritual mediators, and healers have ignited this light within you, the light that you carry within, that is divinely given and that is reflective of divine light, and that have ignited, collective dreams for transformation. Like the passage that we read from Philippians, I invite you to really think about what aspects of our journeys have been truthful, honorable, just, pure, a reflection of divine light, mediating peace into our communities. This month of November has been full of losses, mourning, sadness, rage, and this attempt of repairing our relationships, repairing the fabric of our democracy. We are continuing to survive a global pandemic. The number of COVID cases have risen. We are in some ways still suffering the toll that this has had on our bodies. But we have also rejoiced. We have also celebrated. We have recognized the work of radical Black, Indigenous, Brown folks who have organized, agitated, resisted, and committed to halting the oppressive and death-dealing forces that have disgoverned this country for the last 4 years. And yet, my friends, there is so much more work to be done. And this work for change will emerge from our communities of care and of belonging, like this beloved Epworth community. I sense that in small and big ways, you are tending to your light within, a light that carries and ushers forward justice, tenderness. You are doing the things that you have received and learned and seen so that God can be with us. I urge you to continue to share this light, this care, this regard, and sacred rest. This work from Bay Area artists, again, Fabiana Rodriguez, Defend Your Home, Defend Your Hood, Defend Your City, reminds me that our creative practices, the practices of lighting the sun within, in a way, share and reestablish our connection that tie us to each other, to God, and to the earth. Which communities, bodies, territories, relationships, practices, joys are keeping your sun shining within these days? What is helping you carry on and move from the shadow of the now into the possibility of tomorrow? As Ansaldúa wrote, we are living mientras la sombra y el sueño, between the shadow and the dream. You see, Gloria Ansaldúa was an American scholar who wrote and spoke and made art and created worlds that resisted marginalization, violation, and trauma. She created dangerously. She envisioned a world, el mundo sordo, where people from diverse backgrounds with diverse needs and concerns could coexist and work together to bring about a world that did not yet exist, a world of incendiary change and light. As a spiritual activist, Ansaldúa affirmed that our ways of knowing, this light that we carry within, our worldviews are real, that our mischievous poetics are necessary, that we survive because we shape shift in the diaspora across modalities of knowing, imagination, creative practices, bodies, and constructs of time. Ansaldúa lived in a liminal space. This work is called liminality, a space that is ni de aquí ni de allá, neither from here nor from there. She could walk over the treacherous waters of racism as she was shape-shifting, white supremacy, phobias, ableism, cishet patriarchy, misogyny, neocolonial violence, racial capitalism, and so forth. When I first read these words from Ansaldúa, Mujer Mágica, empty yourself, shock yourself into new ways of perceiving the world, shock your readers into the same, and stop the chatter inside your head. It was as if Ansaldúa was practicing Kindezi with me, lighting my sun within, giving me permission to be fully me, neplantera, mediator, midwife, teacher, artist, resilient, immigrant, Latina, queer, from the earth, whole, fully reconciled with all the divine. The practices of our communities contain these ancestral and holy wisdom, pieces of wisdom of who we have always been and who we will continue to become. Ansaldúa urges us in moments of pain, in moments of repairing, right, that we're doing right now, in moments of conflict, uprisings, protests, unknowingness, to write and create and resist and envision and speak of what links us to life and to one another, of what links us to sensation, to place, to each other, to God. In this work of Mariana Ortega, I believe it links me to life, to God, and to community because she urges me to imagine a world post-capitalism, post-white supremacy, post-Western hegemony, post-pandemic, a world of intimacy, with feeling and with spirit, a world of intimacy with land. What is the land around me? I think when I look at this image, I'm asking myself, what is the land around me telling me, whispering into my ears? And how about this image from Yadira Casares? What does healing look like for me, for us, for our bodies? What must we ignite and light from within and transform and recover and heal? Artists and images and stories help us access our histories, our knowings, our hopes, our roots, our strengths, our medicine. We make art, we gather, we sing, we ritualize in order to find the sound of our own voices, in order to remember who we are, or as Howard Thurman puts it, to find the sound of the genuine in us. Art helps us touch one another in times of isolation. It is the locus of resistance, as Anzaldúa writes, of rupture, implosion, explosion, and putting together the fragments to create a new assemblage, as I see here in this powerful work. It changes our points of reference. It tears apart, it reveals, it rebuilds, it integrates, it attunes us to the divine. Cosmovisions such as this one that is right around the corner in your own neighborhood. I believe it's somewhere on Euclid Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, contains wisdom and knowledge systems of how cultures and prophets and bodies and peoples have survived diabolic forces. This one is entitled Sacred Alignments and was conceived by Oaxacan artist Ernesto Hernandez Olmos. The turtle, as a symbol for the earth, supports a being that is attuned to their surroundings, though their eyes seem closed. As if in prayerful and contemplative meditation, they're able to listen and sense the whispers of the hummingbird and the land. Works of art such as these are technologies, mechanisms of resistance that work against oppression, assimilation, and erasure. They activate our imagination. They light the sun within. And they're also a space of suspension, of wonder, a space of possibility, of birthing something new between the shadow of the now and the dreams of tomorrow. Works like this one helps us imagine worlds into being, even in the face of impossibility that has been forced upon us by coloniality, imperialism, corporativism, police brutality, white supremacy, anti-Blackness, superseding the new and old images, myths, and cosmologics. Between the shadow of the now and the dream of what's to come, we welcome this unknown via an enfleshed and imaginative community of care, affection, and belonging. Our stories, our images, our creative work helps us create collective care to protect our communities, right? To create a collective vision of humanity that resists violence and anchors us in a love politic that seeks justice through radical relationality, vulnerability, mutual regard, imagination, and becoming potentially undone in tenderness. So while we may be fearful and experiencing anger and rage and anxiety and worry, I stand with these artists and invite you to remember that we are called to co-create new worlds into being, to reinvent what it means to develop these bonds of affection, of presence, of regard, of belonging. And let us remember to follow Anzaldúa's charge, to share the moment, to touch one another, to awaken divine presence. Let our hearts and light burn within us into the world. Let us write and birth new dreams with our eyes like painters, our ears like musicians, our feet like dancers, our tongues of fire. As Anzaldúa wrote, let us not allow the ink to coagulate in our pens, in our creative, imaginative pens. Let us continue to create expansive communities of affection and imagination. And let us keep the charge to use these spaces to create worlds beyond the pandemic, beyond white supremacy, beyond racial capitalism. Let us create dangerously beloved community so that we can love freely and radically and lavishly, so that we can experience joy and laughter and beauty and touch and care and intimacy, The divine is all around. It is within and it is without. I urge you to co-create communities with the divine, co-create these realities with the divine, so that we can breathe, so that we can become, so that we can heal. Amen.
We now come to a time of prayer and community to raise the concerns on our hearts and prayers to God. I invite you to share your prayers either silently or in voice where you are, and in group chat if you're joining us live on Facebook. Please remember to only use people's first names. If you are watching at a later time and have a prayer request, please email prayer@epworthberkeley.org. You may also request prayer or a long-term spiritual accompaniment from Stephen Minister in that address. After sharing our prayers, we will join our voices in the Lord's Prayer as Jesus taught us to say. Regardless of whatever lingers in our hearts, let us lift our prayers together now.
Lord, we thank you for our people, roots dug deep within the soil, hardy spirits, rich in loving, strong for struggle, bold for toil, faithful rock of generations, you whom parents praised, arid hope as we remember, may our song to you be raised.
Thank you, God, for gentle pleasure, lessons learned and secrets told, hopes and memories saved as treasure, passed to young ones by the old. Pranks and glories, songs and stories, food by loving has prepared. God, we bless you for your presence in our tears and laughter shared. By your spirit of creation, keep us bold for risking still, eager in anticipation, ever strong to do your will. Bind us close to one another, sharing life and death and birth, welcoming as sister, brother, all your children on the earth.
Pai nosso que estais no céu, santificado seja o teu nome. Venha o teu reino, seja feita a tua vontade, assim na terra como nos céus. O pão nosso de cada dia nos dai hoje. Perdoe as nossas dívidas, assim como nós perdoamos aos nossos devedores. Não nos deixes cair em tentação, mas livra-nos do mal, pois teu é o reino, o poder e a glória para sempre. Amém.
Whether material, relational, or spiritual, we all have an abundance of something the world needs. And likewise, we all have needs unmet. We live under systems and norms that dehumanize and isolate, but we have the power to care for each other. Come with your needs. Come with your offerings. In a spirit of collective mutuality, let us bring them to God.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Will you please pray with me? Spirit of love, as we bring our offerings together, we do so in acknowledgement of all that needs reordering in the world. We grieve the ways resources are hoarded and withheld. We pray that we may be delivered from any temptation to cling to what should be shared with our neighbors. Free us of the lies of individualism and move us ever deeper into solidarity with all life. Amen.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the broad expanse of God's love shape your perspective on your own life and needs, including those things which disappoint you. May the eyes of your heart be open to the blessings which surround you. May this awareness produce a harvest of generosity in your spirit. May thankfulness rise up within you, not just during this short season, but day after day, from the early morning watch until you retire for the night. May your prayers reflect gratitude, while also acknowledging the needs of others whose situations are so drastically different, knowing we are all in this together. Amen.